narcissistic personality disorder. And that's a really messed up disorder because these narcissists, they don't know they have a problem. They can't see it. They don't go to therapy, and they blame everyone else. Long form is antisocial personality disorder or sociopath. The sociopathic narcissists are the monsters because they don't have empathy. They do not have remorse. They think ahead of time what they want to do and how they're going to do it. They plan it. Where you've got these garden variety, narcissists who just are grandiose. They just think they're better than everyone else, and they jump in front of conversations. They think the world is looking at them. But these monster sociopath narcissists, and they know how to exploit people. They look for their victims, and they strategically weaken them in order to get control over them. And that's why we call them monsters. But all of us, our personalities are developed by how we were raised. So if we were raised by normal, average parents with normal, average problems, we're going to get a lot of love and nurturing. And we're going to grow up and we're going to bring that into our adult life. We're going to know about it. And we're going to choose partners that give it to us. But if we came to parents that were abusive, increasingly abusive and mean and nasty, creates down a complete crushing of personality development. And that child moves forward into adulthood with no development of morals, no development of ethics, concern, regard. They take that world in which they felt crushed, they want to crush it back, they want to steal from it, they want to destroy it. And those are the people that know exactly what they have to do in order to get it, because that's what they had to do when they were children. And I don't say this to bring any sympathy for them. As I tell a lot of people, if we had sympathy for all the sociopaths in the world, our prisons would have no one. But that's where it comes from. And they take that frame of reference and they use it, abuse it, and they literally crush people. That's why my favorite term is to explain these sociopathic narcissists are parasites. They live on the life force of the victim, and they will take it and take it and take it until there's nothing left because they think they deserve it. And they believe their victims needed it because they blame them for everything. Sociopathic traits. It depends who they are. If they're the insecure type, who live in the shadows, who don't want people to know. These are not the ones you see in the news, or not big in business, or not in entertainment. They don't want anyone to see them. These type of narcissists on the outside tend to be normal. But on the inside, because that's how they survive. Because remember, these sociopathic monster narcissists, they know who they are. They're like the other garden variety narcissists who are oblivious. And so they have to fit in and not be known. So back at home, they destroy everyone, but outside, they pretend to be something that some are likable, some are respected. They show their true colors when it is safe. So when there is no chance or little chance of consequences. And so remember, these are sociopaths. They know what they're doing. If things get hot, if let's say someone is noticing them, they have to crush that person. They have to crush it directly through aggression, but more often than not, passive-aggressively, behind the scenes, covertly. These are the ones that will do anything to destroy the reputation, the impact of someone that's trying to out them. It's almost as if steal their oxygen. Their whole life force, their whole power is being secret if you out them. I have a video that says, "Don't take the mask off, a covert narcissist run." It's viewed 4 million times. I still have to pinch myself. I can't. The reason that video has been viewed so many times, it basically says, don't mess with these people because they have so much to lose if you try to expose them. You need to escape without trying to expose them because they will do anything to crush the victim who's going to show the world they're a monster. I sincerely believe from all the information, and then I read the papers a lot, that he is a sociopath. And he shows actual cold indifference, no regard for humanity. He lies. Everything's about himself. Anyone who challenges him or who tries to take his mask off, talk about don't take the mask off, just run. Well, he kills them. And he is probably the easiest person for me to diagnose as a sociopath based upon everything we know. In their point of view, their only way to feel safe in the world is by power, by money, by land, by politics. So someone like Putin, he establishes power almost globally. But someone like next door neighbor is power by blackmail, by gaslighting, by threats, by unreasonable mental manipulation. You have to rise to the level of where you are seen as likable, respectable, lovable. You have to create an outside persona. It's like an actor. It's like wearing a costume. You have to mold yourself. You have to shape yourself into what you know people like. And these monster sociopath narcissists, they know what people want and like. That is their skill set. They can read their subject, and they know what that person wants to see. And they don't worry because they've created a circle around them to defend their power and to weaken the opponent. So let's look at empathy, first of all. You can have empathy because you're a good guy. You love someone, whether it's a child, your neighbor. You're just a healthy, normal human that has empathy. Sociopathic narcissist doesn't have empathy. Intuition is independent of good mental health or bad mental health. So you can be a criminal sociopath and have good intuition and know when to, and I say this rhetorically because it's a horrible crime, to rape someone or to rob a bank. Just have this intuitive feeling of, or you can be this wonderfully healthy, wonderful person and have good intuition and know when to take care of someone or when to talk. So intuition should not be aligned with personality types. It's an independent thing. So the sociopath uses his intuition for evil and bad. The smarter they are, the more calculated they are, the more successful. And that's the difference between the guard, and this happens a lot in politics, I'm not going to mention names, but he was the guy that basically everyone kicked out, both the right and the left. But he completely lied about everything. There was nothing that was the truth. He found what people needed to hear. If he was talking in front of Jewish people, he told them that his parents were concentration camps. And your listeners know about him. It's because he knew what people wanted in order to get their money. But the difference between the successful ones, and I use successful loosely because it can be dangerous and harmful. The ones that don't get caught, I'll call that successful. Lies in intelligence. Bernie Madoff was as sociopathic traits. He was a monster. But his intellect was beyond brilliant. And so that was his best way to keep from getting caught. To calculate how close he was to getting caught and what to do. That's what happens to most of these sociopathic narcissists. They believe that they are bigger, more important, and above the law. But that's where the delusion comes in. They're not. And they can't see that people will eventually catch them. It's just a matter of time. According to my human magnet syndrome theory, is that we fall in love with people that are intuitively familiar, where we feel safe. So going back to the explanation of these wicked, evil narcissists, sociopaths, they are that way because of what happened to them in childhood. Well, codependents who are people pleasers, sacrificers, patient, giving, they are that way because a part of their trauma as a child being brought up with a narcissist, they learn to take care of everyone and ignore themselves. By the time you're an adult and you are romantically involved with someone, you're going to feel chemistry. And chemistry is really not what's going on in your head. It's unconscious. It's what feels safe. And if you were brought up knowing that love is taking care of people and sacrificing, when you meet this handsome, gorgeous, bold, charismatic person who's a narcissist, they fall in love with something that draws them like a magnet. So it's like dancers. The leader of the dance, the taker, always needs the follower, the giver, and they both find each other so they can have the dance where it's coordinated. So that's the human magnet syndrome. The giver needs the taker, and the taker needs the giver, and they both feel safe because they've lived that their whole life. No, that would be the codependent, or what I call self-love deficient. Codependents are the opposite of narcissists, and the opposite personality type makes this relationship work. It's dysfunction. It's like the magnets, the North Pole and the South Pole. You need the giver and the sacrificer to make the narcissist work. Think about it. If you have this sociopathic, deceiving, manipulative, cunning narcissist, who's going to take that person's stuff? Who's going to be oblivious to it? It's someone who's been already programmed or gaslit from their life, that they're used to it, they're accustomed to it. It can only work. These two opposite dysfunctional types, they find each other because they're that strange dance, coordinate. Say a narcissist is on a dating site, and then they go on a date, and it's another narcissist. They're not going to feel safe. They're going to feel threatened. They're not going to like that person. Always the codependent. I mean, they are the victim. They're going back to the sociopath. They exploit the powerless. They find the people that they can find their weaknesses and figure a way around them and through them. They can manipulate them. They can trap them. They can gaslight them and brainwash them. You can't cure someone who has antisocial personality disorder or sociopath. There's no known treatment method, and we're talking none. There are treatment methods to treat narcissism and other ones. They don't work very well, but they're still there. You can't treat someone, a sociopath, because they don't have a core. They don't have anything to reach. They don't have a conscience. They don't have sensitive emotions. They don't have emotions like tenderness. They don't have relational emotions. They don't have that. They're not wired that way. If you have more than 2 kids, the second or third kid is going to get better parenting than the first one. You're learning as you go around. But the parent that creates adult sociopaths or adult narcissists, they don't care because they're too wrapped up in their own life, their own needs, their own problems. The narcissist is all about them, and their partner, the codependent, which my mom, is so connected, trying to take care of the narcissist, they often neglect their own children. Okay, so if we look at this diagnostically, how rampant is sociopathy? I would estimate, based on research, less than 1% of our population. I would estimate, when we're talking about narcissism, around about 5 to 8 or 9%. There are different levels and types. Not everyone is the monster, vicious, horrible person. Some people are the quiet, unassuming, living in the shadows, but they're still narcissists. And they hurt people because all they can think about is themselves. They are bloodsuckers, parasites that can only survive by taking the life force away from the people that they prick into their life and keep them there. They're more afraid of being alone than their victims. The codependents are terrified of being alone. They won't tell you, but they can't survive alone. So that is why these sociopath vampires, these parasites, they will do anything they can to have people, to isolate them, to weaken them. They're really cowards and very scared of the world. So they'll do anything to make sure a person leaves. And if they leave, they'll do anything they can to trick them, promise to go to therapy, stop doing this. They'll say anything just to say they're behind, but it never lasts because they don't have the empathy. They don't have the regard for a person. It's just an attempt to save themselves. I kind of look at it as if you're taking away their oxygen. They'll do anything they can in order to get it back. There are people that use the word narcissist way too loosely. So when I use it, or when most mental health clinicians use it, we're talking about a personality disorder. But if you're selfish, you're self-centered, sometimes you think too much about yourself, well, that might be narcissistic, but it's not the same as someone who has this disorder. And too many people use it the wrong way. It's kind of become diluted. There's so many different mental health disorders you can have and be a narcissist. You can be depressed, you can have bipolar disorder, you can have ADHD, or you can have mental health disorders, be because of the narcissism. So mental health disorders come together. Some are related, some are just parallel. But narcissists, that they have a personality disorder. Important to know is that this is a group of disorders in which the person doesn't believe they have a problem. They blame others for the problem. They resist getting help. And they tend to see their mistakes and their problems in other people. I think 55% are men and 45% women. Yeah, pretty close. But, I wonder about those statistics because just society, men, our culture, and most Western cultures, men are aggressive, men are self-centered, men do things, that whole macho, masculine thing. And women, society-wise are more, and by the way, I don't believe in these stereotypes, just saying that, are more, the caretakers. So if in a society that sees women and men polarized in those different roles, they're going to see the narcissism quicker in a man than a woman. Way to handle your children is be a role model. Take care of yourself. Heal your codependency, or what I call self-love deficit disorder. Be stronger, more confident, be able to stand up for yourself. And then as you move further away, with a narcissist falls apart if you become healthy. That whole opposite thing, codependent narcissist, well, that needs the two. But if you become healthy, it kind of breaks it. Find strength, and your children will be watching you. Keep them as much as you can out from the center of the storm. There are different mental health disorders, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, bipolar disorder. So you can have another mental health disorder and be narcissistic. There are two different disorders they can fit together. So you can have bipolar disorder and be a nasty person, but people with bipolar disorder tend to be on the narcissistic side just because of the disorder. Same thing with people who are autistic. You can have narcissistic tendencies, not have the disorder. So we have to be really careful about conflating two disorders. Bipolar is a very serious mental health disorder that people can be narcissistic in that, but it doesn't mean they aren't pathological narcissists. Narcissists are unable to accept responsibility. They can't. So they immediately find fault in the other person. Sometimes you'll trigger what we call a narcissistic injury, where they will get angry and they will tap into deep rage and they'll need to hurt you. We'll make fun of you, we'll laugh at you and try to demean you. And as long as you try to get her to see that, you are engaging in a battle that you will always lose. George Bernard thought that don't wrestle with pigs, you'll get dirty. And besides, the pig likes it. You can't wrestle with them. You just got to walk away. Narcissistic personality disorder is they're self-centered, they're selfish, they're vain, they're entitled, they think they deserve everything, grandiose, they believe they're bigger, more important, they tend to want the spotlight, they tend to take responsibility for things that were done that they didn't do. They can be manipulative and have lower empathy. Now the sociopath, they're different than the narcissist, but when you put them together, that's where we get that evil kind of monster that we were talking about, because they're not grandiose, they know exactly who they are. I got a YouTube channel the YouTube videos has been viewed 27 million times. My book is sold 165,000 copies. I have a podcast that has been, the new one that's been downloaded 175,000. Directly as a psychotherapist, I guess 5,000. But I am living the dream. I'm so blessed that I can reach other people in these other mediums. We just keep learning more about human behavior, and plus as our society changes, we have to roll with the changes. We have to figure out what makes people tick. And, the field of psychology is created by, I know this sounds silly, people. We're part of the culture. The newer generation has to figure out what makes the different generations tick. But the basic fundamental beliefs are universal and cut across. But that is why my next book is going to change everything. It's called The Codependency Revolution. It's time to change what people is believing that is not actually accurate. They are beguiling, they're attractive, they're charismatic, they're seductive, sexy, and so they are their very best version of themselves. It's not something that's accurate, it's something that is created. Because if they're charming, they'll put that on. If they're intelligent, they'll accentuate that. If they're funny and dramatic. So once they hook the person, then and they get that person to a relationship, and you go through the courtship and the wonderful beginning chemistry, then their mask will fall off and they will show their darker side. Within anywhere from a week to a year, I've heard stories of someone who married a narcissist, and it wasn't until they had children, and then everything changed. So that it was 2 years. So because the reason he didn't notice that was they were having fun, they were traveling, they were having a lot of intimate moments, and so once it stopped getting fun, the narcissist brought out his or her true colors. So in that case, it took a little while. It's when the narcissist isn't naturally getting what he or she wants. He then brings out, or she brings out, the controlling, pushy, manipulative, and getting them to change, to be something else. If you are in a situation where someone befriends you very quickly or all of a sudden wants to be your lover, your confidant, the person is lonely, both physically doesn't get around people or emotionally, they are susceptible to the narcissist. The loneliness is the glue that brings the narcissist and the codependent together. Then they're probably got an ulterior motive in that they want something from you, whether it's companionship or money or something that they don't have. Because if they were not narcissistic, it wouldn't need to go so fast. It wouldn't need to be so heavy and intense in the beginning.